Welcome to our posts. Today we will see stories of am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for not giving my sister her wedding dress because she didn't invited my underage son? I, 40 male, have a sister, 30 female, who is getting married in a week. The groom proposed to her a year ago at a family dinner that left everyone speechless, but very happy for them as they are longtime companions. During this dinner, my sister asked my son, 17 male, to make her wedding dress. My son has always loved design and fashion. He took technical courses in these areas and sewing, and even his friends keep asking for his clothes because they are so beautiful. He agreed, but said that he needed time and that he would need her opinion constantly. At first, my sister was very annoying. My son drew about 50 dress designs in a month and she only liked one, which he continued with. He sewed it with great quality fabric, which I paid for as I wanted to get involved in a certain way. For 5 months he made several adjustments to suit her wishes, as she always complained about something. After a while, he arrived at the final model and it was just amazing. My mother cried seeing my sister in the dress, and I confess that I almost got emotional too. The problem was that last week my son came to talk to me about the wedding invitation that had not arrived for him, but for other family members. I thought maybe he didn't need one, but it still felt weird. I messaged my sister raising this issue and she replied that she didn't want any underage people at her wedding because there would be alcohol. I asked if she was going to make an exception for my son, but she cut me off and said no. There are no children in our family, my son is the only minor, so I didn't see any sense in this rule for family members. And to make matters worse, my son was very sad and cried because he spent months on this dress and couldn't go to the wedding. I was very upset and told my sister that she should look for another dress as soon as possible, as she would no longer wear the one my son made. She called and yelled at me, saying I was being unreasonable and that I couldn't do this. My mother called me saying I should deliver the dress and follow the rules, but I didn't and hung up on her. Because of this, the family is divided. Many agree with me and condemn my sister's action, saying she could only make an exception, but another part says I'm unreasonable and I'm spoiling her big day. I don't think I'm being wrong, but just rational and paying her back in kind. So am I the a-hole? Next story. Am I the a-hole if I tell my friend her BF is planning to propose? My 27 female best friend has been dating her boyfriend, 26 male, for over 5 years. A while back he reached out to me to help figure out ring size and the setup so he could make this the most magical day for her. Having known my friend for over 20 plus years, I know exactly how she wants her proposal to go and who she wants to be there, so I relayed all this information to him months ago via texts and over the phone. I even took the time to covertly find and confirm which ring she would love the most. A little background: my friend is incredibly family and friend oriented, and in the past expressed to me on multiple occasions, especially during holiday season, that in the 5 years they've been together, he hasn't really made much of an effort to indoctrinate himself into her family or friendships the way she has for his. While I do generally like him, I have always felt that he is incredibly self-serving and self-focused. Recently, through a mutual friend, I found out he started a group text between his, emphasis on his, friends and his family to set up the time and date of the proposal. He has not only excluded myself, and according to the screenshots I've seen, he is doing everything verbatim I suggested he do, but he has completely excluded her family and other close friends from the event. He is planning on only having his boys and family present for the occasion, and knowing my friend this would ultimately break her heart not being able to share this moment with her loved ones. I got heated and called him. At first he was dodging my questions, then just outright said this is my proposal and I've spent enough time and money to choose how I do it, just be happy for your friend. It's not like you're not coming to the wedding. This infuriated me, and to make matters worse, I ran into her mom and dad at the grocery store and subtly asked if they knew of any possibility she was getting engaged. They were unaware, and I know for a fact my friend has told him that he needs to ask her parents for their blessing. She's somewhat traditional. My friend wears her heart on her sleeve, and I can predict how this event will go down when she sees all of his close friends and family and none of hers. Considering her previous sentiments about his lack of interest in her family or life, she will 100% see this as being hurtful and selfish, and I know she'll cry. To make matters worse, the location of the proposal is a whopping 30 minutes from her parents' home. I don't want to get involved in a fight or reveal the surprise, But on the other hand, I feel I owe it to my lifelong friend to help her avoid being hurt and disappointed, maybe even helping her rethink what her future would look like with someone who just doesn't really appreciate what she values in life. So, am I the a-hole if I tell my friend her boyfriend is going to propose? Update: am I the a-hole if I tell my friend her BF is planning to propose? So on Saturday, the day of the proposal, I got a call from her boyfriend. He was screaming at me, blaming me for not showing up, uninvited still, to the proposal with her parents because she was upset they weren't there. I was effing slack-jawed. I told him I knew this would happen, and he says verbatim, "You just admitted you knew this would happen, so if you knew the whole time and you actually cared about her, you would have invited them." I was gobsmacked and hung up on him. Not even an hour later, I get a call from her asking me to come to her parents. According to her, this is how the situation played out. He popped the queue, she said yes, and the people he invited popped out from hiding. She was bombarded by 4 of his guy friends, his mom, dad, older brother, and his sister-in-law. His parents were holding a sign that read "Welcome to the family, Mrs. Insert his last name here," and this is where things go downhill. I did not know this before, and I thought I knew everything, but my friend doesn't want to change her last name, and she's told him that repeatedly since they got together. She's an only child from a Ukrainian family, and with everything going on with Ukraine in the last year, she's doubled down. When she saw the sign, she joked, "Mrs. his last name? I think you mean Mrs. her last name." Everyone went silent until his mom said, "Well, the ring is already engraved, no changing it now." She takes the ring off and sees "Mrs. his last name" engraved on the band. Then she asked if her parents were coming. He gave every excuse. He didn't have their number, there were too many people there, he wanted to keep it private, and eventually said, "This was my proposal to you, and now my family is your family. We can just send your parents the pictures later." She took the ring off and left. That's when I'm assuming I got that call from him. She went straight to her parents. She asked them about the engagement, they were clueless. She then asked if I knew anything. I asked if she was in the right place, she said she was, so I told her I would answer any question she had, rather than dumping everything on her. She was upset but thanked me. She was furious when I told her about the call from him earlier and said, "Does he really think I'm that shallow?" She said it wasn't about having a perfect proposal or her parents there, it was about him making the whole thing about himself as always, and she was done feeling ignored and belittled. So this was her breaking point. She's staying with her parents currently and has been receiving texts from him. The worst one so far is him telling her she has to pay him back for the ring and for ruining his life. Right now, all I can do is be here for her, and whatever decision she makes, I will fully support because, as you've all helped me realize, this isn't about me, it's about her. Not my monkey, not my circus. Next story. Am I the a-hole for grounding my daughter for leaving her sister with the neighbor? I'm the single mom of 3 kids, Polly, 16 female, Trevor, 12 male, and Cassie, 8 female. I have little to no support. Their father left after Cassie was born, no family nearby, etc. I have 2 sitters that I can call on as needed, and I use them before I'd ever ask Polly for help. I don't want her missing out on her teenage years. Before this incident, I only ever asked her to babysit once because I had no one else and I paid her $15 per hour, at the time, above minimum wage. This past Saturday, Polly was due to hang out with some friends. For a couple of days, Trevor was ill, but testing negative for COVID. That day, he spiked a very high fever and I had to take him to the ER. I asked Polly to watch Cassie as the sitters weren't responding. I apologized that she'd have to miss out on time with friends, but said I'd pay her and she could even have her friends over our place. Polly pitched a fit and asked why I couldn't send Cassie to the neighbors. "We don't know them. They moved in last month and outside waving when we get our mail, I don't have a relationship with them." Polly was irritated. I told her I'd pay her $18 per hour and that I had to go. I take Trevor to the ER and we have to wait a bit. Polly kept asking if the sitters responded, and they hadn't. Eventually, it was our time to be seen, so I told Polly I'd be out of reach for a bit. Turns out, Trevor had a bad case of RSV and due to pre-existing health problems, had to be admitted for the night. I was terrified. When I called Polly to update her, I heard people talking in the background and said, "Oh, you had your friends come over?" She told me no, she dropped Cassie at the neighbors and went out. I was furious. I told her to go home and get her sister. I then asked for the neighbor's number, she didn't even ask for it. Which, I get teenage logic, but still. At first Polly refused until I told her she was grounded. I made her FaceTime me when she got home to show that Cassie was with her. Eventually, my mom was able to make the 2-hour drive down to stay with the girls, but I told her to not let Polly leave the house. The next day, Trevor and I were able to go home. I lectured Polly about what she did and grounded her for 2 weeks. She got mad at me and said that I can't expect her to drop her plans. I point out I never do, but this was an emergency and her brother was sick. She told me that's not her problem. She's also mad because I won't pay her. I apologized profusely to the neighbor who said it was okay and that he would have called me, but Polly didn't leave my number either. Polly said I overreacted. Am I the a-hole? Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter she was being a brat after she cried about blowing out her birthday candles? I have 4 kids, 23, 20, 16 and 13. This concerns my oldest, I'll refer to her as Zara. We don't normally do big parties in our family after double digits, 18th or 21st, but Zara has been going through a bit of a difficult time, so we decided to throw her a surprise party. This was yesterday. It was a big family party and Zara was enjoying it. Then the cake was brought out. I have a lot of young nieces and nephews, so naturally they wanted to stand up with Zara, and she had no issue. When she went to blow out the candles, my 5-year-old niece blew most of them out before her. Everyone laughed it off. My youngest actually put 23 candles on the cake and there were still a few lit, so I told Zara to blow those out. She did, but she looked angry and started crying. She then walked off. After that it got quite awkward and my sister, niece's mom, got upset that her daughter is a kid and didn't mean to do it, and she didn't think Zara would act like this. We all calmed her down that it's not their fault. I talked to Zara and told her she was being a selfish brat and making a scene. She's 23 getting mad about birthday candles. She was still upset, and my other kids are telling me I wasn't being fair with Zara. I hope you guys like this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel or posts.